These are our students for grades 5 through 8.
Hi.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Senator Levin.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How long have you been waiting here so quietly?
Not that long.
Not that long?
No.
Are you patient or impatient?
Patient.
Anybody here is impatient? You're impatient? Does it do you any good?
Well, I mean, being impatient, it just makes things speed up somehow.
All right, so let me, should I tell you who I am or do you know who I am?
You know we are.
Guys, you can tell us.
I'll tell you anyway? All
You
right.
want to?
Are these the right names in front of you? Do you all have your right names?
Yes.
I thought maybe we had all the A's over here, but I guess that's not true. All right, anyway, so my name's Carl Levin. I won't tell you that I'm a senator because you know that already. And you know what a senator is too?
Yes.
Okay, you know how many senators there are?
50.
50 times 2.
100.
100. Because every state has 2 senators. Anyone know who the other senator from Michigan is?
Is it Debbie Stafford?
It is Debbie Stabenow. She's the other senator from Michigan. We're both Democrats. I've been in the Senate for 35 years now, just about. And next year will be my last year. I'm not running for re-election. My wife's name is Barbara. We've been married 52 years. That's about as long. How old is the oldest kid in this room? 13. So how old is your mom and daddy?
My dad's 57.
Your dad's 50?
57.
57. Well, we'll go with the 48-year-old. So we've been married since before your parents were even born. We live in Lafayette Park. Now, do you know where Lafayette Park is? Any of you live in Lafayette Park?
I live near Lafayette Park.
What street you live on?
I live on St. Albans Street.
St. Albans. Okay, now see if I can figure. If you live right on this street, you just walk a few blocks probably. So Lafayette, there's where I live. No, that's not where I live. Anyway, I live in Lafayette Park, which is just a few blocks that away.
Say what?
And we've lived there for 34 years. And before that, we lived in northwest Detroit on Livernois and 7. Does anyone live near Livernois and 7 Mile Road? What street you live on?
I live right kind of on 7 Mile, and it's like Pontchartrain.
Okay, so you live right off 7 Mile Pontchartrain Drive? Okay. So that's where we raised our kids. One of our kids, and maybe 2, but my memory's not perfect, one of our kids came to Friends School it would have been about 40 years ago. Came to Friends School, and I have 3 daughters. My wife and I have 3 daughters. We have 6 grandkids. And I know one of our daughters came here for a couple of years, at least before we went to Washington. And maybe 2 of our daughters, the second oldest may have been here too for a short term. Now, I went to college at a college called Swarthmore. Now, Swarthmore College is a Quaker school, just the way you're a Quaker school. And there's a lot of Quaker colleges in the country, I think. Does anyone know how many Quaker schools there are? Colleges? Anyone know? All right, I don't know either, actually. So as you know, I'm a senator. That means I was elected to represent the people of Michigan. Debbie Stabenow and I in the Senate. We also elect people to the House of Representatives. And when you're elected to the House, you're elected to represent your district for 2 years. When you're elected to the Senate, you're elected to represent the state for 6 years. So I represent the whole state of Michigan. And as I think I mentioned, I'm not running again next year, so next year will be my last year, my 36th year in office. Before I was elected to the Senate a long time ago, I was a member of the Detroit City Council. And I was on the City Council for 8 years. And the new City Council was just elected about a month ago, not even a month ago, with a new mayor and a new City Council elected just about a month ago. So, long time ago, it would have been about 42 years ago, I was elected to the City Council in Detroit. And then when I was re-elected to the city council, I was elected to be president of the city council. That meant I got the most votes in the city. Now, they've changed that system around now, so most of the members are elected in districts rather than for the whole city. Who's got a question? Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned that you have been in office for about 35 years. So how is it balancing lifestyle in the office and then a lifestyle at home? How do you balance those out?
Balance being in office and being, okay, so I work in Washington, which is actually a lot closer here than you think. It's about 1 hour. How many of you have been by airplane? How many of you have been in Washington, been visiting? Okay. And I spend most of my time there working during the week. We have a recess week now for Thanksgiving. And the reason I'm home is because we have this recess week. But in a couple days I'll go to New York to be with 4 of our 6 grandchildren who are in New York. And we'll have Thanksgiving with them. 2 of our 6 grandchildren and their parents are in Ann Arbor. But generally, except for recess weeks when we're on recess, when we're not working, we are in Washington during the week. Most weekends I come home, but not every weekend. Some weekends I'll stay in Washington depending on how busy we are there. And most weekends I come back to Michigan. Now, when I come to Michigan, I don't always come home to Detroit where I live, Lafayette Park. So I have to travel a lot around the state because we got a big state. We got a very big state. Our state is so big, it's such a large state that it is farther from here where we're sitting to the other end of our state in the Upper Peninsula than it is from here to Washington. It's kind of hard to imagine. And I tell my colleagues that, and they can't imagine that. It's because many of them come from western states, for instance, which are very different, and many of them come from eastern states, which states like Delaware and Rhode Island are very small states. So it's hard for them to think about getting all the way to Michigan from Washington just in 1 hour, or 550 miles. Yeah.
Have you met the president?
I met the president many times. He used to work where I work. President Obama used to be a senator from Illinois. And I just was with him last Thursday in the White House. We were talking about Iran. Any of you know anything about Iran? Have you heard about that country in the news recently? Well, that's what we were talking about. There were about 10 of us there with the president last Thursday. And we were talking about the situation in Iran and how to try to avoid war. And since you come to a Quaker school, you probably learn a lot about the importance of avoiding war. You talk a lot about war and peace in class? About violence?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, okay. Who else has questions? Yeah.
Okay, so in Syria, it's this big deal, especially welcome to the school. Thanks, in Syria, there's a situation erupting. Do you think the U.S. will end up intervening in Syria, or do you think we'll talk it out? Because I know Russia had talks with them too, and it was kind of chilled down, but aside. But do you think that America will end up intervening?
Intervening by actually physically moving into Syria? Is that what you mean by intervening?
Yeah.
No. If you mean by supporting people with weapons and with training who are trying to overthrow the dictator, the answer is yes. We already are, along with a lot of other countries, helping to arm, equip, train the Syrians, not outsiders, but Syrians who want to get rid of their dictator. So in that sense, we already have intervened. But in terms of actually our troops or our people going into Syria, no. Okay? Yes?
Okay. Do you recognize the people in this photograph?
I'm afraid I do. But you don't have a name in front of you.
Oh, right here.
Oh, there? Okay, that was over here.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce Kenya?
Yeah. Come on.
Okay. Yeah, I do. I recognize. Of course, I recognize Coleman Young, but this other guy, I don't know. I also recognize that guy in the back, who's a buddy of mine. His name is Nicholas Hood. But yeah, I'm afraid that's me and the mayor, Mayor Young. Where'd you get that picture?
My teacher, Mr. Wooten.
Where'd you get that picture?
Google.
Google, really? I thought we got rid of all those pictures. Still around, huh?
Still around.
Okay, yeah.
When you retire, what do you think of doing?
After I retire,
What do you think of doing?
what am I thinking of doing? I don't know. And my wife and I have decided we're not even going to think much about it. We know we want to stay busy. That much we know. I may teach, but we're not going to spend a lot of time thinking about it because there's so much to do right now that I don't want to spend any time worrying or thinking about what I'm going to do a year from now. I want to try to spend all my time right now trying to figure out what to do with a whole bunch of problems that I'm hopefully going to help solve. So I really don't know. Teaching probably will be part of it. Yeah.
The U.S. government's a very complicated thing through my eyes, maybe not through yours. With that being said, what branch or what person or group in the U.S. government really decides the direction that the country is going?
Well, I'm a member of the legislative branch, which in the Constitution is Article 1. The Constitution was written over 200 years ago. The people who wrote it wanted the legislative branch to be the number one branch, and they put that legislative branch, Congress, as the first article in the Constitution. The President and all of the agencies of the government were the second article. The judiciary, the judges, are the third article. And that was what the people who wrote the Constitution thought ought to be the case. So elected members representing states and districts would write the laws. The president would simply implement or execute the laws. And that's why he's called the chief executive. He executes the laws. And the judiciary would resolve conflicts. Things have changed in the last maybe 100 years now, over that period of time. For the president, I'd say, is the most powerful person and makes most of the practical decisions, particularly in the area of peace and war and foreign policy. The Congress still passes the budgets and passes the laws, but there's 535 of us. And so the president submits or sends to us his budget, how much money goes here, how much money goes there, how much goes to education, how much goes to highways, how much goes to the court system, how much goes to health care and so forth. And then we vote as to whether we agree with the president or not. We change what he sends to us. So we have the power to decide how much money goes to each of the various functions of the federal government. In that sense, we're the most powerful. But the president is the one who sends to us the budget, and while we make some changes in the budget, it's not possible for us to totally rewrite the budget. So we modify the budget, but I'd say if I had to pick one or the other, probably the president has much more to do with foreign policy, peace and war, and the legislative, the Congress and the president, I'd say, basically divide the duties of how the money is spent. The Constitution gives us the power, Congress the power, to decide on the spending of money. But as a practical matter, because the president's got this huge number of people working for him, he kind of sends the big picture, and then we modify it somewhat in terms of spending money. We pass the laws, like criminal laws, what's a crime, what's not a crime. Congress passes those laws. But the original idea was that Congress would have the power, and the president would simply implement what we do. But over time, it's shifted significantly. Yeah?
Have you ever met the president's daughters?
I have not. I may have met them actually when he was a senator, but if so, it would have just been just for a moment. But I have not seen them since they've been in the White House. And the president and Mrs. Obama are very, very protective of their children's privacy. Their children, and the media, the press, have respected that. And the president and Michelle Obama are very good parents. They're very smart to protect their children from being, overwhelmed by publicity and by people trying to meet them and take pictures of them and all that. They try to lead as normal a life as possible for their kids. Obviously, their kids are protected so that there's Secret Service people that watch over those children, that they're not standing right behind them like your teacher, I assume your teacher over there. They would be probably outside the doorway so that they're not always visible. But those kids go to school just like you do. I'm sure their schoolmates know that they are the president's children, but they send them to a school which is very careful to treat them like all the other students. Yeah.
Is it the school that they go to in Washington? Isn't it a Friends school?
Is it?
It is.
It may be called the Friends.
It is. Sidwell.
Sidwell Friends, okay. I wasn't even sure where they went to school.
Okay, students, thank the senator.
Thank you.
Good being with you, kids.
Good being with you.
And adults, teachers, media. Don't want to leave the media over here. All right, did I introduce Gail? Come here, Gail. That's Gail Gobert works for you. Now, why do I say she works for you? Anyone know why I say she works for you?
Because she working for education?
Nope. That's a good idea, though. It's a good idea. She cares about education. She has two children now, so she cares about education. Why do I say she works for you? I know that your parents and your teachers know why I say that. Any of the students know why I say she works for you?
She lets you know what we feel about certain topics so that you can represent us in Washington.
She does that. But that's not quite what I mean, but that's a good answer too, because she does do that. She lets me know a lot of things, yeah.
Is she planning to take her spot when you retire next year?
I don't know, but I haven't thought about that.
I'm not.
No, she's not running for my spot. Anyone else have an idea for why I say she works for you?
Okay. Isn't the Fox News saying we work for you? Is she a newscaster?
I don't know much about Fox News. I stay as far away. No, I'm just kidding. No, the reason she works for you is that she works for the government. And who pays for the government? Who sends tax money to the government? The people. So the people pay her salary. You pay my salary too. So that's why I say I work for you and your parents and so forth. Last thing, you got a yellow shirt. Beige and blue shirt on. You know what the name is on the front of that shirt?
Michigan?
You know who they play this weekend?
Not really.
Anybody know who the Wolverines? No.
Ohio State.
Who said Ohio State? You got it. And who are the Spartans? Michigan State playing this weekend. Anybody know?
Northwest.
No, not Northwest.
Penn State?
I don't think so. Not Penn State. I don't think.
Notre Dame?
No, not Notre Dame either. I'm not sure I'm right, but I think they play Iowa. Am I right? Does anybody know? No one knows. They're playing for the Big Ten championship. I'm pretty sure they're playing Iowa. So Michigan State can win the championship. Michigan can't anymore. But Michigan's got this big game that always is the biggest game of the year in a way against our big competitors, Ohio State. Well, good being with you, kids. Take care.